Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode is the monthly show. I'm sorry it is a little bit late, but things have been crazy for Bitcoin Q&A, Antimus and me. Antimus wasn't able to make this episode, so Black Coffee kindly stepped in, and we covered everything that's been happening over the last couple of months. The crazy stuff going on with Samurai and Wasabi. We also talked about the recent Bitcoin Developer Conference in London. It was amazing. It was so good to catch up with Q&A, Black Coffee, and many others that I don't want to dox. What an incredible event, and it was really amazing just to see up close just how early we are. If you get a chance to go next year, I highly recommend it. It is pure signal, no noise. Before we start, I just want to say thanks to all of you who've been sending me sats via the Podcasting 2.0 apps, and I really appreciate the personal messages that come along with them. It's really good to see the new Fudbuster shows and the bite-sized Bitcoin shows are being received well. I've had a few messages about them and people sharing them with family and friends. That's exactly what I wanted, so thank you for doing that, and I'm really happy you like them. I also want to thank my incredible sponsors. First up, Fast Bitcoins. Fast Bitcoins were there at the conference, they sponsored it, and it was really good to meet the team properly. I'd met Danny obviously previously, but what an awesome team, and they have a real vision of what they want to create going forward. It was really nice to see just how excited they were about some of the upcoming developments on Bitcoin and the things that they're bringing to the table. Everyone knows I constantly bash on the KYC services, but these guys really are awesome, and if you are going to hand over your personal details, you really need to make sure it is going to people who care about privacy and security and will do all they can to protect you. So go to fastbitcoins.com and check them out today. Next up, we have Casa. Casa have been sponsoring this show for about 6 months now, and I'm very happy to have them on board. One of the reasons I particularly wanted to work with Casa is because you can sign up as a NIM. You don't have to give them your personal details, which means, like we're seeing today, if you do have a security breach, a data leak, then it's not so much of an issue for those users. I always suggest to people signing up to Casa to use a new burner email and to have pre-mixed coins to send in there, and then you can still enjoy collaborative custody, you can still get all the benefits, but you don't have that risk. So if anyone would like to check this out, you can go to keys.casa and you can use the code BITBYBIT10 to get 10% off. And if you have any questions of how to do this, you can reach out to me and I will happily help. And finally, we have foundation devices. I won't go into all the details right now because Bitcoin Q&A explains a little bit in this show, and I also have a new episode coming next with Bitcoin Q&A and Zack, their CEO. All I will say is go to their website if you haven't already and look at this absolute beauty. Go to foundationdevices.com and go and have a look. I'm pretty sure you're going to end up ordering one once you've seen it, so if you would like $10 off your purchase, you can use my code BITBYBIT, and you can reach out to me if you have any questions. I really hope you enjoy the show. Hello, mate. Sorry, slight delay there. It takes a while with the software. How are you?
I'm not bad, thanks. How are you?
Very good. It was nice to see you the other day.
Oh yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Always just meeting people in person.
Totally different.
Yeah, definitely is. A good pub session. It went on longer than it should have.
What time did you guys finish in the end?
I don't know, it was after midnight, which is very late for me.
Yeah, I wish I could have stayed, actually. Did you go somewhere nice afterwards, or 'cause we were in Spoons forever?
We didn't stay in there. I don't know if it went somewhere nice. I don't know what Q&A's thoughts on whether it was a nice place to be or not were. It was okay.
Oh, here he is.
How's it going, guys?
Not bad, thanks.
All good.
My opinion on whether what was a nice place.
After we left Spoons the other day, we went on to that pub. Whether it was a decent.
Oh yeah,
pub or not.
it was all right. Yeah, it was just a nice little hole up in the middle of the city. It was they served Guinness, so I was happy.
Yeah, that's all you need, isn't it?
Very nice. But yeah, it was nice to catch up with both. Oh, fucking hell. Sorry, is that my dog? Yeah, no, it was really nice to be there and see sort of ground level everything that's going on and the developments that are going on, because like it's different. You sort of get accustomed to it or used to it when you're seeing things online and everything that's going on and all the things being built. But when you're actually in the room with people, it's just totally different.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, this is the first Bitcoin conference I've been to, and so it's straight into the deep end. Pretty gnarly technical stuff going on, but it's just so good, just getting to speak to people, and you go into some of these presentations and come out sort of having understood half of it, if you're lucky, and but it's good. It's so worth doing.
That's very good going, half of it. I think maybe I was at about 10%. But yeah, it was really... How did the next day go? Because you were doing a presentation. Did that all go smoothly?
Yeah, I think it went pretty well. Q&A was sitting in on one of them, so, again, his opinion's probably more valid than mine. Yeah, it was good. Well, so I was helping Ben Ark out with some workshops that he was running. He was doing the presentations. I was just I was the man on the ground. He wasn't able to make it in person. Yeah, they went pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I learned a lot, and we built a Bitcoin point of sale from Black Coffee. You'll have to help me out here with the hardware that's involved, but it's based off. It uses Ben Ark's LM Bits Lightning sort of accounting system as a back end. Obviously the default is his custodial one, which isn't, well, it's great for onboarding, but isn't ideal. And then you can connect it to your own LM Bits if you run one on your own node. But yeah, what was the hardware that we were using?
It's an ESP32 with an integrated display on that board, and then we've got a nice little sort of pressy keypad made by a company called Liligo, and it's exactly that, really, what you say. I think it's been rebranded to move away from the shitcoin, which is Bitcoin POS. Ben's gone for LN POS now, which I think is probably a good choice.
Yeah, I like it. So what it enables is a user to generate Lightning invoices backed by your own node. That's obviously you need an internet connection for that, so you can tether it to your phone or to the Wi-Fi, wherever you've got this point of sale system. You can give it an XPub so that you can receive on-chain payments. It'll generate a fresh address each time, and the little screen just displays a QR code. You can do LN URL payments, which is the offline. Well, the device is offline, and it's got a secret held within the point of sale system that enables it to show a QR code, which gives the payer a kind of a route to your node, which is always on and sat at home running over Tor or whatever, so that it gives them a route so that they can generate a fresh invoice each time. And the final one is like LNURL withdraw, which is like the ATM feature. So you could actually sell sats for fiat if you're that way inclined using this point of sale system, or do refunds if you're a merchant. So it's a really, I've been really, really impressed with it. Don't get me wrong, it's very much in like hackerman stage at the moment with, cheap hardware that's easy to obtain that you do have to hack around a bit. And, Black Coffee will be the first one to say that I've been flooding his DMs with questions in the last couple of weeks since the conference. But it's really powerful. I don't know if I've missed any of the sort of features of it there, Black Coffee, but or whether I've even done it justice. But I think
No, I think you've got it spot on.
Yeah, I think as the UI around it improves, and the setup of the actual device itself is still very, there was some developers in that room that are far cleverer than I, that were that had a couple of head scratching moments when you were doing the workshop. I don't think that's any reflection on you. I think it's just a reflection of where the tooling's at currently. But as this sort of stuff evolves, I think it's going to be a really powerful tool within the tool chest of a sovereign Bitcoiner that wants to host their own store, or wants to back it by their own node. The one, and this we've probably dove into the weeds very quickly here, but the one head scratch that I can't get around, that hopefully maybe somebody listening to this might be able to slide into my DMs and help me fix, is the LNURL feature doesn't work over Tor. Is that right, Black Coffee?
It should do. Things are moving like fast on this all the time. That there's changes in LN bits going on. There's changes to the code. I found quite a few times that things are breaking. It may be just something like that. It should work. I mean, I've had it running over Tor, no issue.
I'll go back to the drawing board. But one takeaway that anybody that's listening to this, if you do run your own node, all of the Lightning-enabled nodes have LN bits on it. So I would urge you to have a play around with it. There's loads of different extensions for different purposes. I've just touched on a couple of them, but it's a really powerful toolkit if you're wanting to sort of delve in with Lightning and look into taking payments, or even if it's just donations or stuff like that. It's a good bit of kit.
Cheap to make as well, isn't it? Did you save like 40 quid or something like that to make?
Oh, it's even less than that. That's what I was going to.
Oh, is it?
Comment on. Yeah, I mean, there's three versions of it. There's M5 stack version, which comes on M5 stack, sort of quite a nicely packaged up bit of hardware. You get a screen, and then you can slap on a little keyboard onto it, and it looks great. That's probably like 50 quid. But then there's two other versions, and you can probably build one for $15. Even less, actually. There's a bare bones version, which is like $10. So in some places where people don't have a lot of income but want to be able to take Lightning payments easily and issue these invoices without an internet connection, it's perfect, I think.
I think the utopia for me would be, you buy this pre-made device, you power it up, and it creates a like a local web server that you can access in your internet browser on your phone, which I know Black Coffee you teased with me is in the works. And you could just go onto that. It's a really simple web interface and just put in your credentials for your node, just copy and paste stuff, or even potentially scan it with QR codes, and then you're up and running. That, if we can get to that sort of stage where that's the onboarding flow, and then you've got like a little point of sale system there that's connected directly to your own nodes that you can take on-chain or off-chain payments, and you can do that within like 10 or 15 minutes. That's the utopia for me. And it doesn't feel like we're a million miles away from it.
No, not at all. And I've got a branch that needs merging into the main repo that has some of this QR code for the initial setup, just waiting to be merged in, really.
That's really cool. And so the big benefit of this, or one of the big benefits, is the offline option. So presumably if people don't have internet connection or struggle with that sort of stuff, like they can still take these payments, and then you have a certain amount of addresses that are already sort of ready from the XPub or something like that, is it? Or how does that work?
Are you talking about Lightning or on-chain?
On-chain. It does both, right?
It does, yeah. So if you're doing an on-chain transaction, you've got the XPub on the device, and it'll just the device just iterates through that XPub to generate new addresses. We looked at the code in the pub, actually, which is quite an interesting thing to do. But
yeah, I saw it. It didn't mean much to me.
plus one every time. And then the offline Lightning stuff. So someone needs an internet connection. So if the device is offline and it's generating this invoice for someone to pay, the person with their mobile phone has to be online. They make the payment. When the payment's completed, they get a link off to a web page. On that web page, they get a PIN code displayed. The vendor, who's got the point of sale device, presses the star key. They get a PIN code displayed. Compare it against the purchaser's PIN code. If they're the same, that's sort of confirmation that payment's been completed successfully.
The question I've got, that whole PIN flow, is that just so that the offline vendor knows that the payment has been confirmed.
Yes, that's correct. So,
Got it.
when you set up this device in LN bits, there's a secret in LN bits and there's a secret on the device. So the device encrypts this. The device generates the number, like 1234, encrypts it, sends it, or it's in that QR code that gets scanned by the device. Then when the payment's made, LN bits decrypts and shares that back with the purchaser. So they've both got that PIN code.
So I guess this is kind of to remove the trust of, the payer standing in front of you and showing you what looks like a confirmed payment screen and you not knowing whether it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
Got it.
Nice. Well, this is a little bit of a different show. I didn't really do an intro, but obviously we normally have Antimus with us. Black Coffee has kindly stepped in. So it's going to be a bit of a different flow because we normally go through all the software updates and have some structure, but this is going to be a bit looser. We've gone straight into the weeds here. Maybe let's go through some of the stuff that's happened in the last month outside of the conference as well. There's been lots going on. There's loads of stuff I wanted to pick both your brains on. So what's at the top of everyone's minds at the moment?
I think for me, one of the exciting releases is RoboSats. Has anybody heard about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the TLDR is that it's essentially a Tor-based peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading market where you can go from fiat to Bitcoin or Bitcoin to fiat. You can go on there just like you can on Bisq or Hodl Hodl and create a buy order or go and take somebody else's buy order. So there'll be like a message board and it'll be, this person is selling 100,000 sats and they are selling it for a 1% premium over the spot price. It's all based on Lightning Network. There's no on-chain, I think. It's all Lightning based and it uses something called HODL invoices, which I know at a very high level is a kind of rudimentary escrow system that works on the Lightning Network so that there is some mitigation there that just like you have in Bisq and Hodl Hodl where, there is mitigations in there so that, the seller can't sort of run away with your fiat and then never send you the Bitcoin. There is like an arbitration process. It's, it works very similar, but it's purely based on a Tor hidden service. So somebody's presumably hosting this at home, on a server that they've got at home and they didn't want to expose their IP address, which I think is really cool. It uses the, if you log on to the into the website, I say log on, you don't actually need to, there's no personal information, of course. When you go in, you'll be given sort of an ID and these IDs, I think, well, it looks like they use the same algorithm to generate the sort of avatars as the Samurai wallet does because there's loads of you'll get sort of your own robot picture when you sign on. These can be single use if you want to, so every time you revisit the site you'll be given a fresh one or you'll be given a secret so that you can kind of reuse the same reuse the same online ID so that you can start to build up a bit of a reputation, if you're going to be doing lots more trades. Really promising. I haven't tried it yet because there's two reasons. Number one, the liquidity is fairly low because it's a new service. People are just trying it out with really small amounts, which is understandable. And the second reason was that although the liquidity is low, there's not many payment options that are available to me personally at the moment. A lot of it's kind of US based or there's not sort of I'm a big fan of like Revolut and things like that, and there's not that much liquidity for that. So I'm keeping my eye on the sellers board just to see if there's any that pop up within my sort of price range and whatnot, so I can test it out. But looks really promising. I spoke to a few people who have used it, so I think it's just again another great option to add, and I just hope that it continues its early success and that the liquidity pool continues to grow.
Did I see Amazon gift cards as an option for payment, or am I making that up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the payment options can be literally anything. It's just reliant on the seller, so the person who wants to sell some Bitcoin, dictating what payment method they want to take, essentially. So, yeah, I've definitely seen a couple of Amazon gift card orders there as well. So, obviously, a really private way to purchase Bitcoin. You go to Amazon, you buy $100 gift card, and then you sort of send that code over to the seller and they send you the Bitcoin. You don't even need to exchange bank details with that one person, which is always kind of a tiny little bit of a sticking point with peer-to-peer markets if you want to access like the global market.
I don't even think it's a tiny little sticking point. I think it's a massive sticking point. Like, I think personally that's a bit underestimated how much of a problem that could be, because if I was wanting to gather information on Bitcoiners, I'd probably lurk on Bisq and these kind of places and probably do a few trades, and then I have their details, and then I'd try and track them and build up a kind of picture of who they are and who they interact with. Like, it seems that would be a pretty useful way of trying to infiltrate and learn more about the Bitcoin community and who's using it and for what. Obviously, it's better generally to do that, and there's going to be a lot of good actors. It'd be better to do that than go to, like, Coinbase or something like that. But I think if you can cut out that risk using gift cards, and it seems like gift cards, like certainly here in the UK, they've got like this all for one gift card where you can, like, literally you can go pretty much everywhere. It's like Tesco's and Argos and all the different, normal retail shops that you would visit. And so if you can exchange gift cards with that or with Amazon or anything else, well, just go and buy your petrol or go and buy whatever it is you need to buy. And it cuts out that whole attack vector, I guess, of like there's someone sat in the middle gathering data.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in what you're saying. It's definitely a marked improvement over using a centralized exchange, obviously, because you're sharing it with one person who, in all likelihood, is probably another privacy preserving or privacy respecting user, because there's two reasons that they're going to be on Bisq or Hodl Hodl or RoboSats. Is that they want to sell privately, presumably because they don't want people to know that they're selling Bitcoin for the obvious reasons, or they're a spook and they're following the reasons that you've just outlined as well. Ultimately, you'll never know until something comes to bite you in the arse, but it's still better than sharing your details with somebody who
100%.
Is in bed with the government.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I don't want that to put people off. I'm just thinking, like, it is, you have to think critically and think about these things. And so I'd say, like, if that is a payment option to use Amazon gift cards or whichever other gift cards, like, I'd like to see more of that, because it seems like that cuts out a huge amount of problems that, like you say, you don't know. You could think everything's fine, and then 10 years down the road, you get a knock at your door and you think, fuck, why didn't I just use a gift card? Or why didn't I do it for cash? Like, I've tried to do everything right. I tried to do everything as privately as possible, and I've still got stung. So yeah, I don't know. It's something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, just to put it into perspective as to how early this RoboSats tool is, I've just logged on while we've been talking. There's 3 sell offers where you can go on and buy Bitcoin for that on the whole marketplace. One is for €100, which is via Revolut for a 10% premium. Another one is for €10. Another one from Revolut, which is 15% premium. And then there's $100, which is a 6% premium, and they accept Amazon Strike or Zelle. So that's it for the whole marketplace. So very early days yet, but so if you're gonna test it, go on and do it for small amounts and just see how it goes.
I think it's so promising though, being able to access this sort of thing through a web browser versus, if you run Bisq on a desktop, you have to leave it running. It can be a bit of a resource hog. I want to see this taking
17 fans pointing at your laptop so it doesn't blow up.
Yeah, it definitely runs hot. It's been a while since I've run Bisq, but my laptop sounded like it was going to die on me every time that I fired it up. And also, like, with all this talk of people who are saying, oh, they want yield and all this sort of stuff, it's like, well, I'm thinking just through this RoboSats thing, and there is obviously a premium on there, as there probably should be, because people want to be private and that comes at a cost. But if someone wants to sit in the middle and like buy and sell, I could see that being like quite a profitable business if someone sort of provides the liquidity on there, rather than fucking around with like routing fees or any of the other sort of not harebrained ideas, but like very, very low yielding ideas that still have some risk. Like, do you not see that this could be a nice place for someone to sit and earn a few sats?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. The only thing to consider is that whilst running a routing node on the Lightning Network, if you've sort of, what you're doing in terms of setting up your channels and balancing, you can kind of, that's sort of fairly passive once you've got things set up. So you can kind of set it and forget it and just check it, maybe once a day, if that.
True.
Whereas, if you're doing lots of trades on something like RoboSats, then that's very interactive. You need to confirm payments. You need to send Bitcoin payments. It's all a manual process. So it's there's definitely potential there to make some money off it, but it's a lot more work than doing, being a maker on Join Market or trying to make some money off using a routing node on the Lightning Network.
You're right. Yeah, and also because it's lower amounts, if someone sat there and they're getting 10% on, a couple of grand, then lovely jubbly. But if someone's doing like a $20 payment and they're making 5% and they're doing a load of those a day, like it's not going to be particularly worth most people's while. So I guess that's going to be, I don't know. I guess there's no reason that you can't have larger amounts just because it's early.
I don't know whether they've imposed a limit on it because it's so early days or not. Maybe that is the case. I'm not sure. While we're sort of on the sort of privacy piece, did you see the news that came out yesterday about the data leak with Unchained Capital? Well, I say with Unchained Capital, it's with a third party that Unchained Capital uses for their email marketing called what are they called? Active Campaign. So it's obviously like I say, a third party marketing campaign that Unchained Capital use to do some of their sort of marketing and whatnot. They've had I don't know whether they've been hacked or whether it was a social engineering thing, but names, email addresses, usernames, IP addresses have all been leaked, which for a marketing thing doesn't seem that catastrophic. Don't get me wrong, it's not a good thing. The kicker here, the worst one, is whether or not that user has an active account with Unchained Capital, i.e. have they got probably a significant amount of Bitcoin in a vault secured by, collaboratively with Unchained and with themselves, it's collaborative custody. So essentially painting sort of target on the names of these people to say this person's definitely got Bitcoin and they're using Unchained Capital, which, don't get me wrong, is probably from a security perspective is additive in terms of, the likelihood is that the user won't have just a single key that's protecting their Bitcoin, that it's going to be much harder to attack, but that doesn't make you any less of a target, unfortunately. So now that I work at a startup company in Bitcoin that deals with information similar to this is the absolute stuff of nightmares from a company perspective. So it's really unfortunate that although this looks terrible on Unchained Capital, it wasn't actually directly their fault. It's sort of a third party that they've chosen to work with, so they are somewhat culpable. But just another stark reminder, I guess, of being really, really careful who you share your information with, and even if it's something as trivial as opting out of email marketing, that might have saved you from being on this list that's probably going to be circulated fairly quickly on the .NET forums.
And this isn't the first time this has happened, is it? Where customer data has been hacked through from a marketing platform. I think the same thing happened with Ledger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happens all too often, unfortunately. It's a really difficult one, from a company perspective, because especially startups that use that don't, they might not even have a marketing department that use external companies. There's a lot of trust that you're putting into that third party with potentially some fairly damning information, as we've seen in this case. So I think, it comes down to the user. You've just got to be really careful who you share your information and your data with. Be very, very selective. I just hope that. Go on.
I was just wondering, do they have the option for people to use a NIM? So like what I always suggest with Casa, because obviously they're one of my sponsors, anyone who like friends and family who are setting up and they buy like, a reasonable amount, and I don't really want them to only have one key or don't want to fully trust them to do everything, I'll sign them up with a NIM and I'll make sure that everything is post-mix that goes in there, and they have a separate email address and they run a VPN. So they have, they don't have the data on who they are. They don't have the data on their email address or their real name or anything like that. So even if there is a leak, they're a little bit protected. But I don't know if that's just a feature that Casa allows or if that's something that Unchained allows. But if it is something that they allow, then probably that's something for people to consider, because it's not that difficult to mask those things, and it adds just so much more protection.
Yeah, I don't think Unchained offers the pseudonymous sign up that Casa does, and I think a limitation with the Casa one is, I think you can only do the lowest tier, the gold. I think if you've got any form of significant wealth and you use the higher tiers, one of the prerequisites there is that they have a video setup session with you, and any large transactions have to be authorized by a video chat to double check that you're there isn't somebody in a balaclava stood behind you with a knife to your neck. So don't get me wrong, that's a great idea, but if you want to do this privately, it's there's a catch-22 system there. So, but yeah, I don't think Unchained Capital offer the private bit. I think they do sort of some form of KYC with everybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like you said, you can't do anything past gold, but you pay a lot more for that service, like concierge service and the video calls and all that kind of stuff. And secondly, yeah, they can't do all of that without your details. But that's kind of why I suggest it to people. Is just start with a gold membership and go through all those little hurdles, like setting up a new email address and running a VPN and making sure it's post mixed. Like, it's not that hard. Like, when I set mine up, it took me an hour or 2 hours, like messing around doing it, and it's like the added protection is well worth it. So yeah, definitely something to consider for people who are going to use these sort of companies.
Yeah, 100%. I think the problem is not many people don't see, max.bitbybit@gmail.com, first name, last name at insert, email provider name here. They don't really see that as a threat, but, when we're talking, signups with Unchained Capital or Casa, even something trivial as using that sort of information, and we get a really, as sort of privacy leaks go, this is probably on the more mellow side, but even just that single piece of information is enough for somebody to go Googling to, it wouldn't be a stretch for them to find out where you live. And,
No.
God, heaven forbid, what could happen then? Just from a simple email, because you use your first name and your last name, it's a difficult one to try and get across to people that aren't sort of as entrenched in this space as we are.
But how do we get around this? Because like both of you have to take details on customers because you're both selling products and services. I'm doing the same. If you then are taking these details and you want to do any type of marketing and you want to protect these people, obviously, like, how do we fix this? Is it fixable, or is it just down to user behavior and having to just drill into people to use burner emails and not give their real details? Like, how do we prevent this in the future?
I think it's both. There's education, but there's also people operating these businesses maybe shouldn't be using these services. I mean, one of the things I've done with my business is just stop using MailChimp and deleted the account. And after someone orders something on my web store, I delete their user, any details they sent to me after a period of time. But I mean, so many companies are using things like MailChimp or whatever the name of the one that Unchained were using. I'm looking at emails now from Casa, and they've come from MailChimp. I think that people need to learn, or these companies need to learn, that there's solutions for having these marketing platforms on premise. They don't have to be some third party service. It requires more work, but I think if it's going to avoid your customers getting hit with a spanner, it's probably worth doing.
Yeah, nail on the head there. I think education's a big one. Warning people when they're doing signups, if possible, without scaring them. And then, yeah, like Black Coffee just said, companies purging information regularly. Everything that we all the information that we get from people doing orders on our online store gets automatically purged 60 days after we ship to them, just to give a little bit of a window for any returns or issues like that. It automatically gets wiped from the server. So just little automations like that can help. And again, like Black Coffee said, just being very selective as to, if you're going to partner with somebody, what information they get to see. I do sympathize a little bit in terms of, Black Coffee alluded to the fact that, you can host all this stuff in-house, which, completely agree with, absolutely possible. And it's only ever getting easier as the open source ecosystem continues to flourish. The problem is, if you're a small startup with, 5 people, and you're trying to crank out a product and you're working, all the hours that God sends to get the product to market, are you going to want to spend, even a small portion of that time building or hosting your own marketing service or whatnot? You're probably going to lean on the services that already exist. Whether that's the right or the wrong decision, clearly sometimes in this Unchained Capital case is the wrong decision. But I do sympathize with small startups or one-man bands that might lean on services that already exist. But it's a tricky one and a fine line, and you only ever hear about it when it goes wrong, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. We've got the UK Bitcoin cash points. What is going on there? I've seen loads of people tweeting about it. Half of them saying this is bullshit, it's not happening. Half of them saying it is. I've not really taken the time. What is happening?
So the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, which is kind of the UK version of help me out here, guys. What are they called in the US?
It's not the SEC, is it?
No, I think it's a different one, but it's the financial regulator.
Yeah.
It's the nosy twats in the government, basically, that stick their nose into
NTG.
Yeah, that everything that you do and tell you that you can't do it, and then their banker friends go and flaunt all those rules anyway. The FCA has written to providers of cryptocurrency ATMs telling them to cease operations or face enforcement action. I think this stems from the fact that some of the ATMs are only asking for a phone number and an email address.
Can confirm.
And apparently they've decided now, even though the regulation doesn't sort of stipulate what is actually required, they've decided that that's not enough and that you need to cease operation. So seems like very much a knee-jerk reaction, but that's what governments do best. So whether they follow through with it, I don't know, because I don't think there's any sort of anything formal at the moment. The article which was in the Telegraph just says that the FCA has written to these companies telling them to shut down, but unless they back that up with some form of actual regulation or proper reasoning, then I think these companies are well within their rights to stand up to them. But whether they will or not, I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But the net is tightening on all this sort of stuff, and I don't think it's going to slacken anytime soon. Everyone just needs to get their own personal LN POS device and walk around with an ATM, hawking sats from there. That's the solution.
Well, yeah, it is the solution, isn't it? Like trying to get this circular economy going and being able to trade with your peers. And it does feel like it's getting better. It feels like there could be quite a nice flow, especially for people who are home mining, maybe with these Bitcoin meetups or with selling goods and mining. Like you can kind of stack and sell when you need to without having to touch any exchanges or even cash points or anything like that. Like the more people that you interact with and the more goods and services that you buy and sell, like it does feel like it's not a million miles away. Like it's totally possible now, especially with like you're saying, the point of sale and with this RoboSats thing and with BISC and everything else. It feels like, the net is tightening because it feels like they're getting really concerned, and they should be, I suppose. But there's always going to be ways around it, and it kind of pushes people. I guess it's almost like a wake-up call. If anyone with half a brain who sees this and goes, oh shit, they're phasing out cash and they're stopping these ATMs and all the other crazy shit that's going on, like anyone with half a brain should go, maybe I should get myself some no KYC sats.
Yeah, definitely. I've just been rereading the article. The level of hypocrisy here is staggering. There's a quote here from the regulator that says, "We regularly warn consumers that crypto assets are unregulated, a lie, and high risk." Yeah, potentially right. Which means people are very unlikely to have any protection if things go wrong. So people should be prepared to lose all their money if they choose to invest in them. Meanwhile, I get paid next week. I can draw all of my money out, walk into a Ladbrokes and spunk it all on a bandit or a slot machine in 60 minutes. And where's the regulation there? There's fuck all.
Yeah, but gambling doesn't actually scare them at all because it doesn't take their power away, whereas this does. It is absolutely fucking stupid. And also, I think there should be a distinction between crypto and Bitcoin. I think it's clear enough now that Bitcoin is a pretty solid place to have your money. I don't even feel uncomfortable saying that. When you see the other shit coins that are out there, like the Great British Pound and the US dollar and everything else, it's pretty clear, certainly long term, if you're holding long term, this is a very good place to put your money. It's how can they write something like that when you can see everything? It just doesn't make any sense. And so how much longer do people continue to believe this bullshit? Because you just know the average person will have opened that and they'll have gone, oh, bloody hell, that's the end of Bitcoin then. Oh, they're going to stop that, they'll close that down. Oh, high risk. And they believe it, but how long?
It's deliberate, isn't it? The crypto thing, conflate the two, scare people away from it. The FCA are never going to say, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin's probably a really good place to keep your money. You shouldn't be holding British pounds. We can't control it, but crack on." Which is just not going to happen. Whereas if they got the likes, let's say this happens, Polygon, Ethereum, whatever. There's some vulnerability in it. A load of smart contracts get hacked. They can say, "Oh, look, this is the problem with crypto." And then if you conflated Bitcoin with crypto, suddenly it gives you a lot of power just to shut down the whole system if you want to.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. That there needs to be it needs to be clear that they are not the same. I think that just creates a huge amount of confusion, and it would be reasonable to say that about a lot of these crypto assets and pump and dump schemes and all that kind of stuff. But like Q&A said, that's one massive casino. It's no different to any other gambling. It's exactly the same. It's just throw a dart at something and see if that's a winner. Who fucking knows? It's just timing and luck.
Yeah, I completely agree. Speaking of regulations, or not as it may seem, did you see the Wasabi wallet? I want to call it news, maybe. Clusterfuck,
dear.
Disaster, train wreck.
No, I missed that. What happened?
Yeah, so for anybody who's been living under a rock and hasn't followed the uproar, last when was it? Last Sunday, the Wasabi Wallet Twitter account, completely out of the blue, just posts a tweet that says, the ZK Snacks coordinator. Now, ZK Snacks is the company, the parent company to Wasabi Wallet. It's the corporate entity, if you like. They're the people that run the coordinator for the Wasabi Wallet coin joins. So the tweet said, the ZK Snacks coordinator will start refusing certain UTXOs from registering to coin joins. That was accompanied with a black picture with a candle in the middle and no further explanation. So there was a lot of people thinking it was a joke because their social media account tends to have a bit of a track record for doing sort of vague tweets that nobody seems to understand. Nobody kind of believed it anyway. It turns out that it's true. And the Wasabi Wallet coordinator is going to basically be doing chain analysis on everybody that is registering their Bitcoin to do a coin join with Wasabi Wallet. Now, this seems, well, it doesn't seem, it is commercial suicide from them. The whole reason that people go to a privacy wallet like Wasabi Wallet is to try and improve their privacy, to break the links of their, to put up a brick wall in their UTX or their Bitcoin's history so that they can spend more privately after they've done that coin join. So the fact that they're going to start refusing certain people or certain UTXOs maybe from sort of blacklisted addresses from entering is completely antithetical to everything that they said that they sort of stood for and everything that the privacy activists in Bitcoin should be striving for. So over the course of the next couple of days, it turned out that, there's two things here. Number one, there's been no public acknowledgement of any regulation or law or enforcement against them to dictate why they should be doing this. None whatsoever. They've been asked pointed questions on whether this is the case, and all they say is no. At the same time as this announcement came out, there was a journalist contacted Wasabi Wallet and Samurai Wallet, it turns out as well, asking for comment on basically I'm just going to try and find the article now. Let me just. Do you want?
I saw the one from Samurai, their response. I thought that was very good. I didn't see anything from Wasabi.
Yeah, so essentially, it appears that this knee-jerk reaction from Wasabi Wallet to start, the only evidence that we have at the moment is that it's off the back of this journalist contacting them for comment on some potential changes to the landscape. If you want to just fill for me for a minute, I'll find it and I'll read it out.
Black Coffee, what's your thoughts on all of this?
I don't know. It's a mad situation, isn't it? And it's been brewing for a long time. I don't know. There's a company acting as a coordinator in CoinJoin. It's a target, isn't it? I mean, there's obviously some individual with some pressure being put on them, and it might not be regulatory, but if you look at ZK Snacks, it's an incorporated company registered in Gibraltar. It's not going to be that hard to find out who's the director. A knock on the door and some pressure put on them, and you can sort of understand why they're doing this. If it was me,
go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if it was me and a load of police turn up at the door, I'd probably, I don't know, would I be in a different situation? Who knows?
Yeah, so to be clear, the people behind ZK Stacks are very public people. Their names are known. I think some of them are actually ex-European MPs, believe it or not.
Okay.
So they clearly have, they're no stranger to sort of regulation and stuff. So the Financial Times article is titled, "The NCA, which is the National Crime Agency in the UK, calls for regulation of crypto mixers used in churning criminal cash." And basically,
nice title.
So the journalist who wrote this wrote to Wasabi Wallet and to Samurai Wallet, said, "We're going to do this piece. Can you do a comment for us?" It seems that Wasabi Wallet didn't do any comment from what I can see. Samurai Wallet wrote back, and true to journalist style, they included like one sentence of the very lengthy reply that was sent back to them. But it's basically, somebody from the NCA is just calling for regulation. There's been no sort of crypto mixers. There's been no change to the actual regulation. It's just a Financial Times article of a comment that somebody from the NCA has said. On the surface of it, and I've kept fairly close to this. This is the only reason I can see publicly why Wasabi have taken these steps. Obviously, there's been a massive uproar from the community. Previous people who were previously quite outspoken in support of Wasabi Wallet have understandably sort of drawn to question what the hell is going on. The way that it's been handled from the Wasabi Wallet team in terms of communication has been diabolical, quite frankly. And the whole thing just seems incredibly strange. The following day, Samurai Wallet actually published a Medium article which detailed their full response, which is a fantastic read, and I'll send you the link, Max. Basically, it draws a distinction between the difference between a mixer, where you are actually giving up custody of your funds to a third party who is then mixing them up, and you hope that they will send them back to you. Then there is the distinction between a CoinJoin coordinator like Samurai and like Wasabi Wallet. All these coordinators do, they never take control of any of your funds. They just pass messages from inputs to outputs. It's completely blinded. So you just connect to it and it sort of helps coordinate the transaction. It never at any point takes control of any funds. So the crux of the what Samurai Wallet were sort of saying back is that, you know, the any proposed regulation along this sort of lines doesn't affect them or shouldn't affect them anyway, because they're just essentially a messenger. So if that's true, which I believe it is, how far do you draw this in terms of, you know, let's say us three were to spin up a Telegram channel and coordinate our own coin join. Does that mean that Telegram should be regulated in the same way as a Bitcoin mixer that takes custody of your funds, because Telegram's the one passing the messages? It becomes a very, very blurry line as to how possible it would be to police this. Obviously, like Black Coffee said, you know, any sort of form of centralization is going to be a target, and I'm sure there's going to be, you know, things on this front are going to continue to unfold. But I just want to read out the final sign-off sentence from the Samurai Wallet article, which says, "We believe the NCA should instead focus on more productive methods to prevent serious crime and catch criminals." Which I thought was a nice sign off. And I believe the way that this should have been handled. Now, if I want to put my neutral hat back on, you know, Wasabi Wallet may come out in a couple of weeks and say, actually, you know, wherever we're based in Gibraltar, and I believe they've got offices in Hungary as well, you know, the police have approached us and we couldn't say anything. But Samurai Wallet did a Twitter Spaces yesterday and he sort of alluded to the fact that even if that was the case, there's no sort of law to say that they couldn't talk about this. So it just seems strange that the way it's been handled from the Wasabi standpoint. And I suppose I want to finish my sort of rant about this with a question to you guys: is, in their situation, given that who they are or who they say they are in terms of privacy activists and they want to improve Bitcoin privacy, would you continue to run the company in the way it is and just impose the chain analysis onto the users that want to improve their privacy through that service, or would you just shut up shop?
You just shut up shop, wouldn't you?
Exactly. So that seems very strange to me why they haven't done that as well. Maybe it sort of shows their sort of true incentives as to why they're actually here. You know, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to make some money, you know, and offering a service. But when that service completely goes a 180-degree U-turn on what you're actually trying to achieve, just seems very, very strange. And just to cap off the calamity, one of the lead devs, No Power, actually said on Twitter a couple of days ago that they're going to have to hire an in-house chain analysis person, which I'm actually just lost for words. The fact that a dev who's dedicated his life to privacy, you know, and built one of the most used privacy tools in the space, whether I like it or not, would come out publicly and say that, given that there's been apparently no regulation to say that he needs to do it. Just the whole thing's just really, really strange.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, what's so strange about Wasabi, and I've noticed this over the years, is that the communication's never really that great. So you never really understand what's going on behind the scenes. Whereas, you know, Samurai will come out and they'll release this statement like they have done. Samurai tweet something and then sort of disappear back in. And you never know what's going on.
I've never understood. Like, you guys are so much more technical than me, so I don't really I can't really look into the code or really understand what's going under the hood. But like, I've always just stayed away from Wasabi because, yeah, I've never really understood any of their tweets or whenever there's arguments, like one side seems to make sense to me and the other side just hurts my brain. And then I've just I've followed who's generally right. I know that's an appeal to authority and I'm not like verifying myself everything, but like I kind of have had a sense over the last few years of like who talks shit and who actually knows what they're talking about. And, you know, almost everyone who I trust uses Samurai and nobody uses Wasabi. And so that's kind of just why I've stayed away from it. And like the basic thing of this address reuse thing, like it just, again, like my understanding's pretty basic, but it just seems dumb. Like I don't really know, and I don't know if they stay around. I know they've got a big following, and I want there to be as many privacy options out there as possible. I just want them to be good, and it just doesn't seem like this is. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, what would I do? Firstly, I would try and sort the issues with the CoinJoin implementation that I have that seemingly isn't particularly good. And secondly, I would fold if I'd fold rather than do what they've done. It doesn't make any sense. It's really, really peculiar. And then you've got, a small group of people who just consistently shout and scream on Twitter, and anyone who says anything negative, even if you can point to things that are provable and weird, like they'll just deny everything and just call everyone a retard and start shouting and screaming. And I don't know, it's very tiring. I try and stay out of it, but I certainly wouldn't be using them and never have.
Yeah, interestingly as well, just to cap this one off, on the same day as the release, there was a new Twitter account spun up called Wasabi BTC, run by somebody anonymous, that says that they're going to fork off the project, provide their own coordinator service, and basically continue on the current path that Wasabi Wallet is now, minus the chain analysis implementation. So looks like somebody's sort of taking the bull by the horns that doesn't agree with this. We don't know who's behind it. I'm not sure we want to know who's behind it, but it's good that at least somebody's taking the initiative. Aside from all of the technical issues with the implementation itself that you just alluded to, Max, it's somebody internally, I'm guessing, doesn't agree with this decision and wants to continue on the current path. But the problem is there, you're splitting the Wasabi liquidity pool in half then. Well, it might not be in half, but you've got two separate coordinators then. So the lower liquidity coupled with the technical issues behind the CoinJoin protocol itself are going to make for some interesting opportunities for on-chain analysis. It's essentially a smaller liquidity pool with the potential issues that we've seen from time to time in that coordinator. Is going to make it cannon fodder for anybody that knows what they're doing with a chain analysis tool, in my opinion.
So, I mean, what can we do? Because as much as I like Samurai, and that's what I tend to use, I don't like the idea of there just being one option. And I know that there's join market, but it's still not that accessible to most people, like most normies. I have used it, but with OpenOms over my shoulder, and even then it was, for me, honestly, it's just a little bit intimidating. Like I wasn't completely sure and comfortable with what I was doing. Like, how can we make it so that there's at least two implementations that are accessible and usable and work? Or are we destined just to have one? Because I don't know why that just doesn't sit right with me. I'd like there to be options.
I completely agree. I think, Join Market's getting there. They've got the web interface now, which is very much in alpha mode. There's a lot of bugs with it, but, there's progress being made at least. I think outside of that, there's just a distinct lack of desire for privacy for 90% of the space, which doesn't, if there's nobody asking for an extra service or a different service with different features, then nobody's going to build it. For me personally, from a personal standpoint, Samurai works perfectly well. If you don't have an Android, use Sparrow Wallet. It uses the same coordinator in the back end, so you don't need an Android phone. But I think choice is good, and in the Telegram chat that they did yesterday, Samurai Wallet was welcoming competition, and I think it's a great thing if we can. But I think it comes from a lack of desire. There's nobody else is asking for this, or from what I can see.
Yep. Well, I mean, without echoing exactly what Q&A's just said, the competition's good. You need it in any marketplace to keep things, to keep innovation going and to keep giving people what they want, really. So I'm personally really excited to see what's going to happen with Join Market and the web UI. I think that could be huge. Just getting people more comfortable with it as a bit of software, because it is not easy to use on the CLI. And I know OpenArms has done some amazing stuff with Join Inbox, but for most people, it's tricky, to say the least.
It is tricky.
One thing I will say when I said that kind of goes against what I said about there's a distinct lack of desire for privacy, something that goes against that would be, that since the whole Canadian truckers debacle with the donations and whatnot, that was a almost as big of a clusterfuck as this wasabi thing. There's been a concerted effort for, certainly on Bitcoin Twitter anyway, to get BIP47 implemented into as many wallets as possible. There's been bounties created for implementing it into Blue Wallet, and there's a Rust language library being built, so that if you're building a Rust-based mobile wallet, that you could sort of port in that library, and that would make implementing BIP47 a lot easier for you. And there's also work started for BIP47's library to be within BDK, Bitcoin Development Kit, which is ran by Block, I believe. And what they're building there, essentially, BDK is kind of like a framework that people can use to build their own custom sort of user interface around it, to sort of so that they don't need to start from absolute zero when they're building an app. They can use sort of a robust framework so that they can get to market a little bit quicker and do things from a sort of an agreed upon and well-tested framework. One of the apps the first app that's going to be released that uses BDK is Envoy from Wasset Foundation Devices. We're building on BDK, so you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm campaigning very, very hard for us to make use of this BIP47 library if and when it does come to fruition. And staying on the BIP47 trail, Sparrow Wallet finally added the full support for offline paying in payments. So previously, you could just do the interactive spends known as Cahoots. So you could do using the sort of Tor-based communication service, you or I could sort of combine some of our UTXOs to do a coin join with every spend if we wanted to. The additional support that Craig has added is now for the offline stuff. So just to give an example, I could have a QR code displayed on my website, and a static one, and the payment code underneath it if I wanted to. Max, if you wanted to send me some money, you wouldn't need to interact directly with me now. All you need to do is go onto my website, take a photo of the QR code with Sparrow Wallet, or just copy and paste the string of text and numbers from my website into your Sparrow Wallet. That will then, because they're two compatible BIP47 wallets, you would be able to privately generate an address that only I'm aware of and send directly to my wallet privately with nobody else seeing that address. Obviously, the address is still on the blockchain. It's still a typical transaction, but it's not an interactive procedure, and nobody would know that address was derived, from you sending a payment to me. So quite a powerful feature, and probably would have saved a fair bit of heartache for the disaster that was the Canadian truckers. So good to see that the implementations are being built out, and to have two wallets now is huge. We've now got essentially cross-platform BIP47 wallets, so you can spend from your Android phone to a desktop wallet using the BIP47 protocol. So really great to see.
There's no iPhone. There's no iPhone wallets that can do this. Blue Wallet, not thinking about it, or any of these more popular ones?
No, so our best bet at the moment, as it stands, you're right, there's no iPhone implementations. Our best bets are Blue Wallet, somebody taking that bounty. I don't know what the bounty's up to now. I think it was like 10 million sats last time I checked, so it's it's not chump change. And potentially somebody making a pull request into Blue Wallet, which obviously is cross-platform. That would be great. Or the next best option will be somebody to build on top of BDK and make a cross-platform app there. But yeah, at the front runner at the moment will probably be Blue Wallet. But to be honest with you, they've been posturing about this for well over 12 months now, and nothing's happened. They seem to be, focused on other things like Lightning and hardware wallet compatibility. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just doesn't seem like there's an appetite there. But the beauty of Blue Wallet being free and open source is that anybody can fork the project, implement it in their fork of the project, get hold of that bounty and get it merged into Blue Wallet. It doesn't necessarily need to be a Blue Wallet developer. It just needs to be somebody that knows what they're doing and competent enough to implement into their wallet framework.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Blue Wallet's such a good project. They're pretty busy at the moment. So one of the presentations that I sat in on at Advancing Bitcoin was from Igor, who I don't know if he leads the dev on Blue Wallet, but they're doing a lot around Lightning, moving to a new Lightning development kit. So I think they've got their hands. They're busy chaps at the moment. It would be amazing to see this in there, and also bringing in a coin join of some sort as well would be great. But that's a lot to ask.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. The thing is that the majority of people are still using iPhones, and so I don't know about the majority, but a hell of a lot of people still use iPhones. And I always have this problem of, like, when I'm trying to onboard friends and family, probably 90% of them are using iPhone. It's very rare that anyone's running Android. I don't know if that's just I don't know if that's just my friends and family, but very, very rare to see anyone with Android. And so I'll always suggest Blue Wallet. But yeah, then you don't have that option. And I'd like to be able to interact with them. And yeah, Paynims would be incredible.
Yeah, I've not really come across that, to be honest, Max. I'd say it's probably a decent 50-50 split. It must be, a down south thing. Everyone's got too much money down there, just running around with iPhones.
Oh, yeah. They're all gold-plated as well.
yeah. But no, you're right. And this is, Blue Wallet made the decision of using React Native, which allows this sort of cross-platform development to take place, a lot less work, and it's probably one of the best wallets on iOS. So some PRs with BIP47 in would be most welcome, I expect.
What else haven't we covered? We've gone through some of the nightmares. We've gone through some of the exciting changes. Like, what else is going on? Anything we've missed?
Oh, Q&A. I'm sure you've got something to talk about.
Yeah, I won't go into full shill mode in terms of the foundation release, because Max and I recorded with Zack yesterday, so I don't know which podcast is going to come out first, Max.
That will probably come out first, I think. Haven't really decided yet, but they'll be close to each other anyway, and we shield fairly hard. But let's cover it a little bit.
So the headline, because this was going to come out after, I would urge you to go back. We talked for a full hour, Zack and I, to Max, going into the ins and outs of our new product launches. But I'll just give you the headlines. There's three main things to talk about. Passport Batch 2. We've announced all the details of it, including images of the device. We're really happy with how it looks. We think it looks really, really beautiful. And so that's due to start shipping next month. We're still taking pre-orders, so feel free to head to foundationdevices.com to have a look. And if you like one, place your pre-order. They are, since we did the release, they are literally flying off the shelves. I've never seen anything like it. So it's really good to see. We've got a really positive response from the market when we've released it. Basically, it's a redesign and an improvement of the Founders Edition. Slightly changed look with a new user interface. It looks a little bit less ghetto, shall we say? It looks it's a bit fancier, and we internally we sort of had a discussion and sort of said, look, hardware wallets don't need to look boring; they can be secure and look really good as well. So we kind of ran with that and overhauled the design, give it a beautiful color screen, some rose gold accent colorings, a rechargeable and removable lithium-ion battery, so that we've got improved battery life, which also allowed us to slim down the device quite significantly. And alongside that new release, we are going to be releasing our mobile companion app called Envoy. which is designed to be as I said, a companion app that makes onboarding onto Passport really easy. It will walk you through all of the steps to get started from zero, and then allow you to manage your Passport as a watch-only wallet from then on. Designed to be really simple. There's no massive amounts of bells and whistles. The whole point is simplicity, at least at launch anyway. We will be working to add more complex features after that. That'll be a cross-platform app, as I alluded to before, available on Android and iOS. Talks over Tor to your own node if you want to. If not, we will. You can connect to our default servers again over the Tor network. So we're making privacy the sort of default there. And the final sort of product, if you want to call it that, is what we're calling the concierge service, which is essentially an hour with me one-on-one to help the beginner get set up with Passport. So I will essentially sit there on the other end of a Jitsi call with you and walk you through the whole setup. If you don't want to pair with Envoy, again, it's absolutely not a requirement. Everything we do is about openness and compatibility. So, if you have this call with me, you can add it onto when you buy a Passport, you can add it into your cart. We can schedule a call and I can help you get the device set up and then connect to any wallet of your choice. We'll go through updating the firmware, backing up your keys, connecting to, say, Sparrow Wallet or Envoy or anything like that. And it's just that sort of extra helping hand for people that like to have somebody on hand to Uncle Jim them, if you like, so that they can ask questions as they're actually doing the thing. Because, for us three that have been in the space for quite a while, this stuff can seem, setting up a hardware wallet might seem really trivial, but for some people that's really scary, and that might be the first foray that they're taking outside of, buying some Bitcoin on an exchange. So that was a high level. Go back and listen to the podcast with Zack and I, where we get into the weeds a lot more, talk about features, talk about the design process and things like that. So there'll be full details in there. And what do you think of it, Max? You've seen the pictures. What about you, Black Coffee?
It looks phenomenal. I'm just gonna have to pull the trigger. After we've spoken today, I'm just gonna buy one. Because I'd never sort of held one before, and then a few weeks ago when we met up, I had a little look at the first version of the Foundation, and I was so impressed with the build quality. So little bits like the magnetic snap-on cover, that sort of thing. It's so nice, and I'm sure this version is going to be another level on from that. So yeah, blown away by what I saw then, and I'm sure this one's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, I had the first one and it blew me away. And now I'm looking at this one. As soon as we got off the call, actually, yesterday, I wrote to Q&A. I was like, get me one of those immediately. I need one. Like it's fucking beautiful.
I sent your comment verbatim to Andy, our designer, and it made him laugh out loud.
What was it?
It was that device makes me visually aroused.
Yeah, well, it's true.
One final thing before we sign off that I'm going to be ordering today that I wanted to ask you about is the new Samurai hoodies on the new very, very sexy website. I haven't heard you speak about this yet, so maybe, well, purely for my benefit, but hopefully for the listeners' benefit as well. Can you sort of give us the rundown of what's going on there?
Yeah. New website made almost entirely by Mr. Crown. I've helped where I can, but as usual, not much good. But yeah, he's an absolute monster. He's been working, I don't know, the last month or two, really, really hard, just updating so that we can have articles on there. We've got clothing on there. We've been designing all the clothing together. And one of the bits of clothing is the Samurai hoodie. And we've decided 80% of the profits goes to Free Ross. I had a chat with Samurai and I said to him, look, we'd like to do this hoodie, but I want to do some good with it as well. Would you be happy? And he said, absolutely. Like, that sounds perfect. Let's do what we can. So, that's gone live. It was actually really touching yesterday because I got a retweet from Free Ross, their page, and then a message from Ross's mum saying thank you and how much she appreciated it, and that really that's probably one of the best feelings I've ever had in this space. Is like, yeah, it's a small thing that I can do. It's not going to be a fortune, but just having that message really. Yeah, it meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. Actually, I saw the tweet back from them, and I thought that was really cool. So, one question I have, and it's probably going to be a bit of a logistical nightmare for you if it's an online store. But two questions: number one, have you got a custom pay name for the store? And number two, do you accept pay name payments, especially for samurai hoodies? That would be pretty.
One step ahead of you, mate. I've already done one a couple of days ago.
Nice.
So, do you know what though? If I'm totally honest, it failed like 4 times, and then we just did it samurai wallet to samurai wallet in the end because it kept failing. I don't know why, but yes is the answer. We will do that. So if anyone's listening, and then we did the address via PGP as well, so proper cypherpunk stuff.
Get you.
Yeah, it only took me about 3 hours to do one order. But yeah, and the other thing to mention is like sizing wise, because you're asking me about that. I would say the sizing comes up very slightly small. So like if you like your hoodies a bit more relaxed fit, probably think about going up a size. Yeah, because you were asking me about that the other day.
Yeah, really. This sounds really shilly now, but I do genuinely mean it. They're really reasonably priced as well. I can't remember the last time I saw a decent, good quality hoodie for sale for $45, which is less than 40 quid in the UK.
Yeah, well, we thought long and hard about that because the thing is, like, we don't really make any money from these. This is more, trying to do something good, and also like it helps raise awareness of Free Ross. It helps raise awareness of Samurai, and it helps raise awareness of the website. So it's not really about earning the money. It's more just to get the word out there. And I think the more people who wear them, then people might ask and they say, oh, where'd you get that from? Oh, I did this, and 80% goes to Free Ross. Oh, okay, I'll get one of those. So we wanted to keep the pricing as reasonable as possible rather than price people out.
This may or may not be a trick question, but do you take fiat?
We do, yeah. I actually talked about it yesterday, saying I'm kind of disgusted at myself that I'm doing it. But the way I rationalize it is every time we get a fiat payment, it gets converted straight into sats. And so I know that I've got strong hands and that I'm going to use this properly, and that I think it's better for me to take that and better for some money to go to Free Ross rather than not. Because, a lot of people just don't want to spend their Bitcoin. And I went into this in detail in the pod that's just gone live, but I do think a lot of people are scared for 2 reasons. And like one of the main reasons I think people are scared is because they haven't actually used privacy best practices. So when they spend Bitcoin, they're scared about, oh, what if I then get taxed, or because I've now technically sold, and what if I'm tracked, and what if this and what if that? And I just want to hold, and then, but if I buy, I can only do it with KYC. And I think that actually stops people from parting with their sats. So for now, we do have an option on there for fiat. I'd like to only accept Bitcoin. We prefer Bitcoin, but yeah, we will cater to fiat, and we will take those slave notes from you and convert them to real money.
Completely get where you come from. I just feel like, as I'm using air quotes, but proper Bitcoiners, I think anybody that's buying from a Bitcoin-based merchant has a moral obligation to spend some sats, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll certainly be parting ways with some sats for one today. I'm just I'm at the checkout now, actually, funny enough. But yeah, if you're going to buy one, make sure you're paying with sats. This circular economy doesn't get kickstarted without everybody playing their part.
Agreed. What about you, Black Coffee? Are you accepting fiat as well on your store, or are you?
Yeah, I saw the same. Early on, it was Bitcoin only. Just no one buys anything. you switch to just taking that horrible, dirty fiat, and suddenly people want to spend it. I guess, people don't want to hold onto fiat; they want to hold onto Bitcoin, and that's it. I mean, I do the same as you. Any fiat goes straight into Sats and just sits in a wallet forever.
Yeah. I think for now that's the best way. But like Q&A said, I do think we should be spending Bitcoin. I certainly do where I can. I mean, literally because I haven't got any slave notes left. But it's the other thing is that it kind of helps because we have to buy the material and spend fiat to do that. So when the fiat comes in, it effectively just pays for those orders to go out, which we need some fiat to do that currently because I can't find a decent printer who accepts Bitcoin. So for now we need that for that side of it, and then obviously we keep the sats. So it's like auto stacking basically. It works quite well.
Yeah. And the samurai hoodie looks great, and you've got a load of other things up there as well, Max, including a really nice looking seed signer T-shirt. Which I'm going to be quite poor at the end of today.
Yeah, I thought you might see that one. Well, that's the same. So we have an agreement with Seed Signer. I reached out to him because he put a thread on a while ago about funding and wanting to keep developers on, and obviously it's difficult with an open source project. And so I reached out to him and I was like, look, mate, like I really love what you're doing. I can't be like sending you a load of sats. Like I'm no whale, but I'd like to do something. Would you be up for me designing a T-shirt and us selling it, and we'll give you 80%? Same thing, we'll give you 80% of any profits. And he was like, yeah, I mean that would be amazing. So me and Mr. Crown worked on the designs. We took a few weeks and we had samples and making sure the quality was good. And we're very, very happy with that. We've had a fair few sales of that already. And so, we look forward to sending those sats to Seed Signer and helping continue development.
Very nice.
There's a Lightning payment on its way to you right now, Max.
Excellent news. I'll track you now then.
Good luck.
Good luck. Appreciated it, mate. So anything else we haven't covered? I think we sort of went through most of the things. I think the big stuff anyway. It's been a crazy month or so. Like it feels like a year.
Yep, I agree.
All right, boys.
Yeah,
well,
I'm all done. I've got nothing else. But thanks for having us once again, Max.
Yeah, always a pleasure. We'll have to catch up again in person soon. That was good fun. Enjoy the rest of your days, guys. I'll sit and edit this for the rest of my life now.
All right, good luck.
Cheers, you guys.
All right, speak to you later.
Bye.